Good morning. I'm Denise Dryden. I'm sorry I'm a little late. I had to move a couple times, and today I decided to put some beautiful flowers in the background for a change. Today is the 5th anniversary of doing these every single week. So what I chose to do 5 years ago, right, was to come to you and bring some of the things that I was working on each week with my coaching, some of the things I was reading, some of the ways that I'm putting things together. And so today I want to talk about how does the past sort of mess with your relationships, right? So, have you ever sort of caught yourself interacting with another person and doing something that's old and familiar, like, I can't believe I just said that, or here I go again, doing the same thing I always do, right? And so some examples would be, like let's say you look at your toddler or your little girl and you're like, yeah, here she goes again. This is what she does, right? She always does this. So you bring the always up and you place it on that current behavior and you act the same way. The second thing is that, you might even say, hey, if you don't get in the car, I'm taking your phone away for a week. That threat, that channeling of your mother's voice if she was here when we had cell phones, right? The other one might be a thought pattern, which is, ooh, wait a minute, if I do this for him or her, then this will happen. It's sort of like where that manipulation or that cause and effect or that sort of getting something that you want comes in, which is an old behavior. Or, my favorite is this thing that happens to me. Like if I have a really big client, or when I was working and for somebody else and the boss would call, I'd look at the phone and my whole system would go and my stomach would flip and I'd go, what did I do wrong? As opposed to, oh, cool, I can hardly wait to hear what he or she has to say. And so there's these reactions, right? Where we bring up old stories and experiences and our frustrations and our emotions and our fears and our memories, and we plant them in the middle of the relationships that we're currently working. It's like almost like we drag them up from the past and we throw them right here. So whether that's with our partner or spouse, whether that's with a child or our parents or a friend or a colleague, the bottom line is that we're harvesting old energy and bringing it into the new, and then we're surprised that we get the same outcome, right? So it does mess with our relationships. So these emotional memories, these subconscious stories, reactions, they have histories to them. And Lee Harris said the most profound thing, that when we go into fear, when we have a fear reaction, we shut down our senses. So part of what I've done for the last 3 years at least, or probably since about 2015, I'm going to just change this angle a bit because the sun's behind me, is that as empaths and sensitives, and those of us who have energetic reactivities, what happens is we stop accessing those superpowers. We stop using them when we go into fear. They just literally shut down. And so what happens is what we're trying to do is expand and step into these glorious skill sets, but yet when we bring something up from the past, it shuts that down. So this is going to show up in your parenting or in your relationships, especially if you interact with, teach, raise, or grandparent a rainbow or diamond child. So someone like 20 years or under for a rainbow, diamonds about 10 years and under, especially diamonds 6 years and under, is that they don't have the same histories in their body. They weren't born with these karmic lineages where they have these set reactions. They were born with a clean slate. And so they look at the teacher, or they look at you and they're like, oh, here you go again, playing out your old shit on me. And you're watching this child and you know that they can see something you can't see. And so a lot of the work that I've been doing over the last 3 years and going forward is identifying what is it like to be around a new earth kid who has no conditioning, no response to conditioning, doesn't react the same way that we did with fear. Interesting. So the other piece is that this connects to the Chiron work that I do with my clients. That Chiron represents the wounded healer, right? And the wounded healer, he knows his wounds, and it's a way of looking at where Chiron is on your chart and finding out, well, where is it that I get stuck? Where is it that I get into these repetitive patterns. And so what I want to do with Chiron is shift off of the old wounds. Like, yeah, okay, so you know, I'm not diminishing it, but if this happened when I was young, how often do I have to bring it up and reintroduce it into the life going forward? Let's do it differently, which is because of these things that I experienced, I now have these skills, these gifts, and they are all interconnected and they work really well. So I was well trained. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, third grade teacher. Thank you, anybody, right? So if this makes sense to you and you recognize that some of these things, you know, sort of pull you out, you know, into the old, and you bring it up and you put it in front of you, here are some tips. And as part of what I do every week is I give you some tips. So I don't just talk about theories. I talk about tips that we train in and we hone and we work on in coaching. So first and foremost, this is a blue lace agate. It deals with anxiety. It deals with tension. It deals with reactivity. Sometimes when I want to just stay really calm, I will hold it. So the stones can help. So first thing, well, it's not really on my list, but I was holding on to this, so I thought I would share with you what it is I'm actually holding. And I forgot my other prop. So you can so the first thing is that you can catch yourself. Are you in the now? Or are you in some back place that's not now? That's all. Now or not now. It's either you're here or you're not here. That's it. Now or not now. And how can you tell? So the best way that I found is to sort of slow things down by my breath, calm down my system, and check in with my senses. Can I hear? What am I actually seeing? Can I see the light through the trees? Can I hear the birds? Because then I'm in this expanded mode. And then my skills, all of my superpowers are starting to work. So I'm expanded and instead of being contracted, right? So number 2, if you catch yourself and you're contracted, you recognize it with compassion, like, oh, look at me, I'm all tight and contracted. I must be in some sort of a reaction. And so you gently, you say, you know, like, oh, I wonder what just pulled up. I wonder how I just started channeling Mom or Dad, or I'm in these old sort of control patterns that are so familiar to me, right? And so I went there. And so you just, with compassion, you go, okay, so I'm there. I'm contracted. Makes sense, right? Number 3, once you recognize that you're in a different time and space, right? Like, oh man, I'm back when I was a mom, when my kids were little. I'm back in my marriage. I'm back here. I'm back here. Then you acknowledge it and you consciously move it to the side, kind of like, oh, well, that came up. Okay, so thank you for being there, and you sort of move it aside. We're not ignoring it. We're not shoving it under the carpet and pretending like it's not there. We're just simply sort of moving it aside and saying, I appreciate you coming up right now, but I don't want to repeat the same reaction. I want to do it differently. So you acknowledge and you move it away, or you step away from it gently. Okay, number 4, notice all you can in the now. The sounds in the room, the smells, the light coming in, the plants. Look at the person in front of you. Look at how your eye contact, your breathing, what's working, what's not working, right? Notice all of it so that you can come to the present, so that you can have presence in the now. So you sort of catch it and move it aside, and then you come back into now and you notice, like, so here I'm having a conversation with you on camera. Where did I go? What happened? And so we can do this very quickly once we learn how to sort of move it aside and put it back up here. Number 5, if you haven't really come all the way back and you're still trying to build your presence, or you want to initiate once you're there, you can ask a question like, tell me a little bit more about that. Or what do you think's going on with right now? And you can, with a child, you can just sort of move it over to them. Hey, tell me about what's going on. Or you can say things like, I noticed and I wonder. I noticed that you're raising your voice and I wonder, is there something going on? You want to talk to me about that? And you can even say, hey, give me a second. I just want to reconnect. I sort of swirled there for a minute, which is, anyone who knows me is used to me going like, give me just a second. And these are all the things that you can do to change these rote patterns, which is when this happens, I go there. When this happens, I go there. So what we're doing is we're saying when this happens, I catch myself and I don't go there. And it might take a little bit more time, but I don't go there. That's the most important part. And number 6, when we stop that repetitive sort of unconscious pattern that comes up in our reactions and we actually catch it, shift it aside, and do something different, we're in choice. When we're in choice, we're in ownership. When we're in ownership, we're in sovereignty, which is, wait a minute, the only thing that matters right now is what's in front of me and where I am. Anything from the past, it doesn't contribute to where I am right now unless it's a stall tactics with questions or whatever. That's the best thing that we can do so it doesn't mess with our relationships. So if you want more information, you want some coaching, you want to do some sessions with me, you can find me on DeniseDryden.com. I am thrilled to be doing this work and happy that you're watching and love sharing it with you each week. Have a good week, and I'll see you next Sunday. Take care. Bye-bye.